Alpha Pickleball Podcast, where we slice through the noise to bring you the juiciest insights, strategies, and stories from the dynamic world of pickleball. Join us as we serve up engaging conversations with top players, coaches, and enthusiasts, giving you an ace perspective on all things pickleball. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just stepping onto the court, get ready for a volley of knowledge that'll elevate your game to alpha levels. Let the rallies begin.
All right, welcome again to the show. I'm your host, Tats, and we're really excited to have Brandon Lane on the show. Brandon, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Looking forward to it for the whole week. So,
Yeah, I mean, how long have you been playing pickleball?
I've been playing pickleball for about 2 years now.
Okay.
My college roommate actually invited me into the sport. One day he was like, "Hey, do you want to play this game?" And I was coaching at a country club, not a country club, at an academy in Atlanta, and yeah, he was like, "Hey, do you want to come over?" We played. I haven't stopped playing, so I mean, it's just addicting.
And yeah, so did you start I mean you're playing on pro events right now, but what were the sort of the early progression for you?
Actually, he called me up to play the first time, and I actually ended up playing a 3-5 doubles tournament. So came away with the gold in the 3-5. So that was fun. And then I was like, hey, this is fun. So started playing a little more, practicing and getting ready. So yeah, love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah, and you sort of just kind of seeing where it goes. Were you kind of the person that started to drill from day one? Like, what was kind of your path? Because, pro competition is tough, and at some point you turned it on. Was it from like day one?
No, definitely wasn't a training mindset from day one. I was just like, I just want to play, typical tennis player, just banging the ball and coming in swinging volleys. I think after probably a couple months, I was like, all right, if I'm going to get better at this, I'm going to have to drill. So started drilling, and then it opened up my eyes when I started playing some tournaments. I actually went to a PPA tournament in Dallas, and I made a pretty good run and made some money. And I was like, all right, I think this is kind of what I want to do. Kind of over the tennis run right now, and started grinding in the pickleball world. Now I'm pretty much full time with it. So
Nice. No, that's beautiful. Now, I talked to a lot of pro pickleball players, and everyone seems to have different techniques. The tennis is quite established in terms of technique. How did how did you build the game you have now?
actually, in tennis, I grew up watching Tim Henman and Pete Sampras, and I was a big serve and volley player. I mean, when I played tennis, I love to come into the net, and I think that's why I still do. I love singles more than doubles, just because I can kind of cause chaos and get huge in the net, and I just feel comfortable, like chipping and charging, and so I think that's kind of what made my game more aggressive, like drive, crash, come in. So I'm definitely the guy who will, drive the third, drop the fifth, or drive, crash. Who knows? But but yeah, that's definitely how my game has evolved. Definitely from singles in the tennis world and playing like Tim Henman and Pete Sampras and everything. So
Yeah, and for you, what were the adjustments? Because I know, so volleying, of course, serving volleying, obviously you're used to hitting some of those softer shots as well at the net, but what sort of adaptations did you have to make for your type of tennis game over to pickleball?
definitely too big of a swing. I definitely had a huge backswing in my tennis strokes. Um, the volleys killed me. I probably lost more points at the start stepping into the kitchen instead of just getting up there and staying in an open stance instead of just like stepping in with the opposite foot. I was like, I gotta stop doing this because I'm losing all my points. So um, definitely like there was definitely a lot of things like the big swing definitely was huge. I got to stay low. The ball is not bouncing. I'm like 6'3", so I'm like I got to use my legs even more. Um, Also, a lot of hip fire. I've noticed definitely got to get the hips involved and get that lower body engaged because that's where you're going to get a lot of that power and juice. So,
Yeah, for sure. And now, in terms of like singles, you just mentioned strategy, but how do you view double strategy? Like, how do you sort of approach sort of your game there?
um, I've been playing for about a year and a half full time. But I started playing in 2022 and now it's 24. I remember some of my first tournaments, the guys I played with, they're like, all right, we're just gonna dink, 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 and just try to grind them out, and maybe someone pops it up. It's not the case anymore. Guys are coming in from high level backgrounds of ping pong, tennis, racquetball, squash, badminton, and definitely the dink, dink, dink isn't going to work anymore. I think I've definitely evolved to just playing a little more aggressive, just speed up, drive, crash, and just work the points a little maybe faster whenever I get the opportunity to speed up. But I think at the start I like the kind of the grind, dink, dink, move the ball around. But definitely now, whenever I have the opportunity, I'm gonna try to flick one, pop one, and you know, start a little chaos up in the net. So
Yeah. So I know, when people are starting out, where they're uncomfortable with thinking, they maybe sort of pull the trigger on the wrong thing and stuff like that. So how do you, obviously you've done the dinking game, you're comfortable with it, but you choose to speed up. What do you look for in speed ups?
I mean, usually it comes down to my side. I even when I teach camps or lessons, I usually think of like my body as a stoplight. Like from the shoes to my knees is like a red light. I might not pull that ball, probably unless I can completely catch them off guard. And from my knees to my waist is like a yellow light. So I might be more aggressive on the dink, or I'm gonna pull it. But anything from my waist up, I'm gonna be popping that ball the whole time.
Yeah.
Super aggressive and everything. So
Yeah.
also, yeah, I mean, also if I know, my opponent might not be shifting as much and I'm pulling them wide, or, I'm trying to find little gaps in the middle, or if they're kind of just stationary there sleeping, I might try to throw it up under their shoulder or catch them off guard.
Yeah. So a little higher, a little lower, keep them guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So,
you mentioned crashing too. Tips on crashing, positional stuff, obviously short back swings, but like what tips do you have for being good at crashing?
it doesn't have to be a huge drive from you or your partner. Usually if you're playing someone just straight up or usually just going down the middle, just kind of like a 70% ball, not 100% drive.
Yeah.
Just trying to get it where maybe they throwing up middle and just reading that. And then stacking wise, if definitely bigger serves are coming into play now. Not really. You can tell definitely in singles, serves are always big. But now I feel like even in men's and mixed doubles, you hit a huge serve that's going to give you a good third.
Yeah.
So that's also the play too. Maybe if you get like a higher third, really rip that ball middle, and then definitely you or your partner is going to be crashing in the middle there. And
Yeah.
just communicate.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to be on the same page.
Yeah.
So
So basically middle, maybe line. If you talk about it ahead of time, do you target
yeah,
forehands,
uh,
backhands, or anywhere, shoulders?
yeah, on the stack. If I know one of them is definitely maybe a step or two back coming up, I'll definitely, we'll have the idea of going down the line, just throw them where they're at the reach, so they're not able to really get a good stationary, confident block. So
Yeah, for sure. And then for you, your game style, what do you look for in a partner?
Just positive vibes and definitely good energy. Um, I like I think definitely when you're playing with someone, if you see them roll their eyes or they start, shrugging their shoulders, it's and especially in pickleball, you can pick on someone big time. So even though like I might miss a point or two, I'm still gonna be positive and be like, all right, let's bounce back. Let's get this next ball. But if you have a partner who, starts rolling their eyes at you or, they start making mistakes and then that's just bringing them down, that other team's going to see that and they're just going to pick on them and, kind of be a game over right there. So, yeah, definitely good energy, positivity. Um, yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of playing the same these days. You'll see the occasional person maybe grind a little slower or someone who's just like pulling the trigger really fast all the time. But for me, it's just trying to find that good chemistry of just energy and positivity. I think that
Yeah,
goes a long way.
for sure. You play a lot of tournaments, but you also train. What's your routine look like leading up to a tournament?
Training. So when I'm
Training
training,
preparation, tournaments. Yeah.
yeah, so I actually train with my wife a lot. We live up in Melbourne, Florida, so um, not too many people up in that area, but when we train, we usually just get out there, just get limber, stretch, loosen up. A lot of dinking actually. We'll get into the thing. We'll dink a lot down the line, cross court, and then we'll go into just some maybe little points, just straight ahead and cross, throw in speed ups, anything goes. And then after we'll do that, we'll go one person goes back, go into the transition and just work on just resetting and just putting balls back in the kitchen. So just kind of get the feel of, I feel like people will start from the kitchen and then go all the way back to the baseline when they haven't even worked their way back through that mid court. So I really value sitting in that mid transition area and just reset and just getting a feel for every single spot before you hit that baseline. So we'll do that for good 10, 15 minutes. We'll go line cross and then other side line cross. And then we'll do some serve returns and then we'll play some skinny singles and call it a day. So
Yeah. And do you play with, you said there's not too many people in the area. Do you show up at tournaments early to practice with people and play? Or do you have other places you drive to play? Like how's that fit in?
definitely play a lot more at tournaments. I mean, for example, I was at the APP Miami this past weekend, lost in a quarter, so I was done for the day. And then I was like, all right, let's go play some mix. So we played mix for like, a couple hours after. And then the next day after mix, we played dubs for a couple hours. And and that's cool too, because you meet new people and you get some rec in. And then maybe like, hey, let's run a tournament together. So um, definitely playing a lot at the tournaments. When it comes to at home, I would say if we do play, we would go more south. Like it's about hour and 45, 2 hour drive to Delray Beach, Boca. So, you got that whole scene down there, like the J Dub and Johnny Goldberg, all those guys down there. So, um, but yeah, I mean, you got to travel these days to play, or you got to move to where the play is because everyone's kind of isolated either in Florida, Texas, California, Arizona, big community over there. So, um, so yeah, I mean that's pretty much our routine on that.
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned some, like J Dub and those players. I mean, when you're playing them in rec, are they playing the same way they are in tournament? Are they more casual? Is it all mixed up? Like, what is it like? And what is your focus when you're playing those games?
I mean, obviously, when you get to play, with good players and good teams, you definitely want to get the most out of it. But we're kind of all friends too, so sometimes we'll jaw at each other a little, or like if we're straight ahead from someone the whole time, we're just trying to body bag or go hand to hand with them and have a good time, maybe try some new shots out. But I think definitely a lot of us want to win too, because then it's kind of just some bragging rights. So, but no, it's great. It's a blast. You just there's never like a bad moment in the game. It's always just good times.
Yeah, yeah. Just relax, get you get acclimatized to the speed if that's a factor for you, and then yeah, just have fun. So it's
Yeah.
awesome. For anyone that's you've been you're in right in the middle of it, but for someone that's let's say younger, looking sort of in or towards the future, what sort of tips do you have for people that are just trying to work their game up, or maybe they're younger and looking a few years out?
Um, the sport is so crazy right now. It's just so new. It's blowing up. Definitely for someone just younger, growing up. You know, if you ever just don't take the little things for granted, like get out there and hit that extra hour, hit that extra day. Sometimes, I mean, shoot, there's two kids from Oregon, um, Aiden and Clayton. I played these two guys in Sacramento, and they gave us a run for their money. And after the tournament, even in Miami here, I hit some balls with them, and you know, they came up and like, hey, do you want to play a little? And just they're always, if you get the opportunity to hit with guys and at the younger level, just give them that opportunity, because we were all at their level or all in their shoes one day. So definitely for those little guys and people coming up in the future, just getting out there and just trying to play as much as you can, make new relationships, and don't think you're too good already. Like I know there's some young kids that are good, but they're always like, "Hey, I'll play with you," or so.
Basically, seek new opportunities. Don't wait for things to come to you, and don't
Yeah,
take things for granted, I guess.
no, definitely. Sports just so new.
How do you think it's all going to evolve in terms of the standards or the type of shots or whatever you're going to see going forward?
Um, I feel like I see a new shot or a new move just every tournament. I think definitely with the paddles too. I mean, I remember I played with like I don't even know what it was. It was like a gearbox. Like my first paddle was like softer than like a marshmallow, and I had to hit the ball as hard as I could to get over the net. And now like you use some paddle out there, and it's like a missile coming at you. So um, I think you might start seeing just different shots as maybe the ball gets faster. I mean, you might be seeing passes going on in doubles, because I mean, if you're stacking and you're coming up a little slower, if someone can hit that ball pretty big and with a hot paddle, you might start seeing some passes, maybe some, you know, topspin lobs from the baseline to baseline, with spin on their paddles. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think definitely, I think if the paddles keep getting hotter, maybe you might have to change something with the court, or who knows? I don't know. I've always thought of that, like coming from tennis, what if they made the court, you know, 5 feet longer and they made a doubles alley? What if that changed eventually? But yeah, I mean, definitely speed ups are getting faster. Balls are moving quicker. I feel like I usually have a lot of time to get out of the way. Now I feel like sometimes I just get pegged here and there just because I'm too slow. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think just gonna have to keep finding out every week.
Yeah, and so when you see these shots, you're like, "Oh, I want that shot," or I mean, or do you just say, "I got to keep working the fundamentals," or like, how do you like I just visualizing coming to a ceremony goes, oh man, that looks nasty. Like, do you just
Yeah.
start working on that, or do you have your own plan of new shots that you're kind of working on? How do you deal with the fact that there's new stuff coming up all the time?
Yeah, I mean, I try to keep it as simple as possible. I feel like if I do too much, I start making mistakes myself. The game's already hard enough at the level that playing in. But for me, I think definitely one that I've been working on a lot is just being more natural with a two-handed backhand. Um, at the kitchen line, just on speed ups and everything, I feel like I'm just not as quick as I was before. So definitely putting two hands, if they're speeding up through the middle, I can counter that. And also what I was talking about earlier, like crashing. I know my partner drives and I crash, and I would crash with one hand. Now I'm looking two hands over there just so I can get a little more power behind it. So pretty much trying to have two forehands on both sides. So
Got it. And to work on that, what are you doing? Just drilling it from the kitchen line, and then I guess for crashing, I guess you're just coming in and just cracking out of the air.
yeah, I would say, just coming from tennis, I was teaching two hands all the time to kids and adults, and just kind of basics. Like I started off by just putting my left hand on it and sitting there and having someone just feed me balls cross court and just roll it down the line, roll it down the line, roll it down the line, and then I would go like one hand to two hands, one hand to two hands, and then work my way back. I started just getting the feel of it, and then as I got farther back, work on the drive and then work on the drop. And still a work in progress, but definitely, definitely you'll see the game evolve to way more people using two hands, especially with the ball moving so fast. I've noticed that. I mean, definitely need to have another hand on that side because there's only really one option if you have one-handed backhand. You can hit it down the line. You can't really roll it cross. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That sharper angle is a little bit more harder to control. I see
yeah,
I see some pros hitting them, but I mean, enormous amount of control and to be able to do anything with it.
definitely, definitely.
Huh. Okay. Here's a question. You had a two-hander. Do you find that it's any different hitting a pickleball with the two hand, other than just shortening up the swing?
Say that again.
Like some shots in tennis work really well just coming over, but the two-hander, are you noticing you have to do anything different
Thanks for
with
tuning
any
in to
of
the
your
Alpha
two-handed
Pickleball
shots?
Podcast
For
with
instance,
Tats.
drops or
If
drives,
you
or is it
enjoyed
just
today's episode,
slight
subscribe,
modifications?
rate, and connect with
I
us
would
on
say
social
slight
media.
modifications, definitely
Stay
not
alpha
such a
on the
big backswing.
pickleball court. Until
Shortening
our
the
next
swing,
session.
and I would say maybe getting a little more drop of the paddle. Since with a tennis racket, it has the strings and it can grip the ball so much easier. Especially you can kind of just come over it from there. With the paddle of a pickleball, definitely need to drop that paddle head and get a little more lift to it. Because if you're
Yeah.
just going to roll right over it, you're going to go right down into the net. Definitely, I've always told myself to feel the ball as long as I can on the paddle until it leaves it. So just so I can kind of get a better feel for that.
Okay. Very cool. Any other tip that you find yourself giving to people that are trying to become a little bit more advanced?
Reps. Definitely reps, reps, reps. I would say it's every sport. You look at every sport. Basketball players, they get out there and they shoot the extra 100 balls. Tennis players, they go out there and they hit the extra, 100 balls. Soccer players, everything. If you're not hitting consistently and working on shots in a real life scenario, it's going to be very tough. And make it harder on yourself. Don't just, feed a flat ball to, like hit a little more topspin on the ball to have it hit into you a little harder. Make it like a real life scenario. So
Perfect. I
definitely,
love it. Well, thank you, Brendan. Great advice and appreciate you sharing your story.
definitely. Thank you.